people are addicted. If you're out with a group of friends and you're constantly on your phone, or you're at dinner, it's in a restaurant or whether it's at home, and you're just constantly, you've got your phone right there. Unused creativity is doing us a disservice. Unused creativity turns into probably depression, turns into anxiety, turns into all these different things that if you don't use it, then it ends up not being a good thing.
It'll find negative ways and negative outlets to come out there.
Yeah, exactly.
How is social media impacting the mental health, especially of the younger generation today? And if there's any help to help them navigate it better?
So with young people, I think...
Welcome to Level Up with Priyanka. Today's guest is someone who has been making waves in one of the most important conversations of our time. How do we engage with technology in a healthy and intentional way? Thao Vanessa, the founder of Detox, a platform dedicated to promoting digital wellness and conscious screen use, especially in an age where doom scrolling has become second nature. Through her work, she helps individuals, families, and even businesses rethink their digital habits, not by pushing for a full detox, but by actually promoting healthy boundaries, awareness, and consciousness. Thao, welcome to Level Up.
Thank you so much.
I'm so excited to have you on the podcast, and I've been looking forward to this conversation since a long time.
Yes, definitely.
I'm going to dive straight into it, Thao. Can you just briefly tell us what is digital wellness?
Yes.
And why are you so passionate about it?
Okay, so digital wellness combines both everything to do with technology and everything to do with health. Whether it's mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, physical health. So digital wellness is all around how can we create a healthier lifestyle with technology. It's not about getting rid of technology. It's not about getting rid of your social media or not using it at all. It's about how do we use it in a healthier way so we can live a healthier lifestyle. And I got really passionate about it a few years ago, actually, because I started noticing people using their smartphones more and not eating dinner at the restaurant, or being more addicted to their devices on the train and bumping into people when they're walking across the road, or almost getting hit by a car because they're walking across the road with their phones.
Yes.
And so I realized, okay, something is changing here in probably a negative way, but how can we actually alleviate this negativity?
Sure.
And so that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to start looking into digital wellness a little bit more and learning about how can we help other people with this concept.
So interesting, because I actually can totally relate to everything you've said. I go out and all I can see people exactly on dinner tables, on the phones. And this is not an external problem. It's a problem. I see it at my own home as well.
Yeah.
I can personally be addicted to it sometimes, like I'm just doom scrolling, or I can have my husband doing it and I'll be so irritated, but sometimes you forget that you're also a prey to the same thing. And children and everything. So I think such an important conversation that we're having in today's time. So thank you for the work that you're doing in this space.
Okay, thank you so much.
I've made a great list of questions that I want to go through. So I'll ask you each one of them. The first one that I want to know is, how do you personally manage your own digital habits, and are there any tricks or something that you'd want to share with us?
Yes. Well, I am a digital marketer.
Okay.
So that's my job. But being so ingrained on the devices, on the screens all the time, I had to figure out, okay, how can I be less addicted? And so for me, I dedicate work life and home life in a separate way, in a sense where, okay, if I'm working, I'm on the screens, but when I'm not, I have something else to do.
Right.
And so this means whether I'm meditating, whether I'm reading, whether I'm watching something on TV, probably not TV anymore, maybe Netflix now. But yeah, the trick is to find something to replace it.
Right. So a hobby,
having a sense of purpose. And I think this is really hard for especially maybe teenagers growing up, or people who don't really feel like they have maybe a sense of purpose or something that they've really felt that they're really passionate about.
Sure.
So I think we were just talking about it before, like passion projects, right?
Yes.
So finding things that you love or being curious, and then using that to replace the digital scrolling.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, so that's one trick.
And maybe that would be something that you would, like, if you work with someone, you would help them understand and probably give them options to replace the screen time or the doom scrolling time that they go through.
Yeah. So the first thing we'll do is we'll probably do a plan.
Okay.
So we'll do an assessment, seeing how they scroll, whether they even scroll, do they doom scroll, or do they check their emails all the time?
Okay.
Right.
Well,
so things like that.
there's a term that I want more understanding on.
Yeah.
So you said even scroll and doom scroll. I think we understand doom scroll and just like mindlessly going through it. What's even scroll?
Oh, I just meant even scroll as in even if you scroll or you doom scroll. So sometimes you can just scroll normally, but if you doom scroll, whether you're going deep into a topic that might not be positive for you, then that's doom scrolling.
Sure.
So so just whether they doom scroll or whether they just scroll because they're checking their emails.
Sure. So that's the difference.
Assessing, so there's a difference in that as well.
Okay, sure. Thank you. And I think, so when you say you do an assessment, do you check the times on the phone, like through the apps and everything? Like what is the time they've spent on each app and what they've been doing?
A really good question. So there's, it's more like a checklist that has all different types of digital wellness aspects. And so there could be one around mental health, one around doom scrolling, one around how much time they spend on their phone, how much time they spend on their laptop. So there's all these different assets and facets to the assessment. And then people rate it from 1 to 10 as to how often they, I'm not going to give away too much, but how often they use it or how severe the certain case is.
Right.
And then so they assess that and then we go out and then we go, okay, so this is what you've rated for this is what you've rated for that. And then we're going to go and adjust it based on what we've assessed for you.
Right. Okay.
And then based on that, then we can create strategies to help them with because everyone's different, right?
Yes.
And even if every single child is different, every family is different, even if it's in a couple, one person might scroll like this, another person might not even scroll, but they just might watch Netflix all the time.
Sure.
So that's even another aspect of digital well-being that needs to be looked at.
Right. Very interesting. And it's serious work. Like we're not just like giving fluff, but you're actually getting down into the nitty-gritties of what they're doing and trying to fix those things.
Yeah. And I'm not with detox. We're not just trying to get people to use other apps to disable the use of social media, for example.
Sure.
Right. So you can do that. You can say, okay, I'm going to use a certain app to block me from using social media for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour a day. But it's more around, okay, building those healthier habits.
Sure.
So it's habit formation. It's changing that mindset. I love Tony Robbins. He talks about raising your standards. So it's all around how do you raise your standards, but for digital wellness as well. That's great because I think, you restrict yourself is not really changing anything because the intention to do it's still there, but maybe you're just trying to change the intention there. Exactly. Very nice.
This episode is sponsored by Finsol Insurance, where we help families protect what matters most: your health, your loved ones, and your lifestyle. Life is unpredictable, but your financial security shouldn't be. So if you're a parent, a homeowner, or just someone who values peace of mind, make sure that you are protected with the right protection. Use the link below to book a strategy call and take the first step towards securing your future. Are there particular signs that you can see that someone might be struggling with their digital well-being, or something that you can tell them that people could be more aware of if they go through it, that there is a sign that you need help with their digital wellness? Yeah, I mean, a really big one is if you're out with a group of friends and you're constantly on your phone, right? Or you're at dinner, whether it's in a restaurant or whether it's at home, and you're just constantly, you've got your phone right there. Right. It might not be ringing. You might not have anything on it or playing, but if it's right there, it's signaling the message that, okay, my attention isn't really all dedicated to you. Sure. And this is something that Simon Sinek often talks about as well,
where, if you have the phone in the meeting, if you have your phone at a catch up with a friend on the table, I wouldn't say it's addiction, but it is subtle addiction that, okay, I need that phone right then and there all the time.
And it's also a sign of disrespect to the person being there with you.
Yeah, it's a massive, it is disrespect.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, so, I've been in situations and I've seen situations where people would be on their phones mid-conversation with a friend. And, I get it. Sometimes people have work to do or things like that, but it is a sign of disrespect as well.
Yeah.
So if we can be more respectful, if we can be more courteous, if we can be more mindful, I think that's the best way forward.
No, absolutely. And I'm actually just consciously thinking if I've ever been guilty of that. I'm very mindful that, I have to be present, especially in human interactions.
Yeah.
Like we so digitized these days and everything's on the phone and technology and laptops. So human interactions are rare. And when you have that opportunity, you don't want to mix it up with other things like phones and stuff. So might as well be fully present in that moment.
Yes, exactly. And, I'm privy to that too. Sometimes I'll go to a concert and my phone will be out. Yeah. I'm thinking, why am I using my phone when I can just watch the artist? But then that you want to play it back, but sometimes we don't even play it back when we've got millions of photos and videos on our phone. Yes. So, we're all, guilty of it in some way or another, but we just have to be mindful and we have to learn how to, adjust and adapt.
Yes, and raise our standard in
exactly
a way every day.
Exactly.
Yes, thank you for that. Okay. And how is social media impacting the mental health, especially of the younger generation today?
Yes.
And if there's any help to help them navigate it better?
Teenagers, especially even younger children, so tweens as well, when they're just about to get their phone, are very impacted by social media and just impacted by, general tech use in general. Yeah. Having said that, though, a lot of teenagers, people are addicted. Yeah. But how do we change that is another story. So with young people, I think, again, it's giving them something to do in a purposeful, meaningful way that they love. So whether it's a passion project, but I believe for the younger generation, creativity is a really big one.
Right, okay.
So if we can get them to be creative, to not consume so much, but to create more than consume.
Okay.
So to be their own content creators, right? Whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on social media, such as Instagram or TikTok, but do it in a way that is good for their mental health. You know? It's not just about, dancing is good on TikTok, but there are other ways that we can help the next generation. Say a child wants to learn how to be a soccer player.
Yep.
Or they want to get into medicine, right? Yep. They could combine their two loves and they could create content that is around that, so that they are creating a digital footprint.
Sure.
That is beneficial for not even for their career, but for their own health in the future, right? So that when they look back at their digital footprint, they can go, oh my God, this is my diary that I've created. This is my resume that I've created on social media.
Yes.
And the digital footprint is huge. I'm not sure the younger kids understand how important it is that everything you post online can be traced back. Even if it gets deleted, someone might have screenshotted it. So for them, it's really understanding, okay, how can they create a positive digital footprint?
Right.
How can they be more creative? Yeah. And how can they also find the curiosity, the passion to create those two things? And just on that, on social media is now coined as interest media.
Okay, I haven't heard of that term
before.
So
this is quite new, and it's something that Gary Vaynerchuk talks about as well. And he talks about how social is now interest, because back in the days it used to be around how many followers you got.
Correct.
Right? So if you had, 1 million followers, you're deemed as successful.
Yep.
But now you can create content that is discovered through the interests.
Right. Okay.
Right? So say you create content around, I don't know, medicine.
Sure.
Or content around soccer or football.
Yep.
Whatever sport it is, right?
Yep.
And then the AFL finds your content.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Or someone who loves AFL finds your content. So they're searching for it through the algorithms.
Right.
Which means that your content is going to be more discoverable based on the interests and based on the topics you talk about.
Right. So the follow count's no longer that relevant as it used to be.
It's not as relevant as it used to be.
Sure.
Which is great, because people can bypass, oh my God, how many followers, I need to get my follower ranking up.
Yeah.
And especially that we go back to the younger kids, right? They are, not just younger children, but a lot of people deem how successful they are or how successful other people are based on how many followers they have.
Yep. Yep.
And if that's changing, that's a really great thing, because it's based on interest and based on who you are as a person, what you're interested in,
yes,
as opposed to how popular you are or how many fake followers you've got. And that's another story as well.
Absolutely. And it's much more deeper than just a superficial number.
Exactly.
And it gives access to so many people to talk about things they're genuinely passionate about or interested in. Exactly. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
And so do you work with children to educate them around better wellness habits for technology, or even the fact that they could possibly create more content rather than consume it, and that would eventually help them with their mental health and interests, and even their long-term digital footprint as well?
Yeah, so we work generally with professionals in the family support space.
Right.
So I haven't worked with children directly. I have worked with a few children in the past, but we haven't worked with children directly. It's more so parents and family support workers who will guide the children, whether they're in foster care or whether they're, they deal with children directly. So it's going through those people and helping those people first, and giving them strategies on how they can support the children that they do out their work.
And such an interesting topic, right? I feel that probably in the next few years, the curriculum's going to have that as part of the education system, that every child needs to understand what social media is doing and how to navigate it better. And
yeah, exactly. And definitely getting children into programs that get them outside of the classroom as well. So maybe they can do something online after they learn how to do something outdoors, right? So maybe they create something, build a tarp or something. And then they recreate that in a digital setting. So it's combining the two. So that could be the digital wellness component.
Right.
So there are things like that I see in the future where they combine the outdoors and the technology aspect of it as well.
And I'm trying to slowly incorporate that mindset with my children as well, where I'm getting them to, even if we travel, I'll get them to talk about the travels, the places they've been to, and what they felt, just the experiences through the journey. So they are being more conscious of the experience they've had because they're talking it themselves. They're kind of reiterating what they've done. And when they look back at it, it is easy to reinforce and take back that memory in a better way, because they can see, they can hear what they did, and it brings those feelings in them as well.
That's great. So do you get them to journal, or
I get them to journal, video? And then I do videos, and then I get them to voice over it. Or even tell me about it, and I can just blog it in their
they've got a digital page, they've got an Instagram page. So I'll just make a note of what they felt or anything like that.
Amazing.
So they've got a little memory there of what happened.
That's great.
Yeah. So, but I think there's a long way to go for me as well. And I'll be adopting a lot of the techniques that you have suggested right now.
Yeah. Well, there are probably a few apps out there that you can use that, not just on Instagram, but there are apps where you can document stories as well.
Right.
So, yeah, there are tools that we can use.
We'll make a note of all those things.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Thao. And I wanted to go into the other side of the social media and the digital space, which is the creation space, which we just spoke about. So we live in a hyper-connected world and it's content saturated, it's connected. How can creators and brands show up online more mindfully and meaningfully?
Yeah, that's a huge one. Because as marketers, as content creators, as brand managers, we are often trying to figure out, okay, how many eyeballs can we get on the brand?
Yeah.
How many people can click on this? How many people can engage with that? But what I really find that is important is how ethical are we making it in terms of the marketing? Is it just clickbait? Or is it actually meaningful content? And so for content creators, I think what's really important is to create content that is actually educational, inspirational. You know, it doesn't just convince people to buy or, engage, but it is actually doing something beneficial for your brain and your health.
Yes.
Whether it's physically, spiritually, I'm really big on content that actually inspires me.
Right.
Or teaches me to learn something new. I don't really doom scroll on, TikTok dances, for example. That's just me. But I love watching content or, learning about content that is actually educational, inspirational, and spiritual as well. Spiritual is a big one too.
I think I can relate to that completely because I'm a huge consumer of podcasts myself.
Yeah.
So any of these educational and inspirational podcasts, so you take Jay Shetty or you take The Diary of a CEO, I love them. And there's so much that you could learn from them. You're consuming content, but I think you're also being mindful there. That you're just not consuming things that don't really take you and your life to a better stage.
Exactly. And there are some people who can't do podcasts, right? Because they learn differently. Like they might not be auditory learners.
Yes.
And so they might be visual learners, right?
Yeah.
So then they could watch The Diary of a CEO or Jay Shetty on Instagram, for example. So they could follow them or they could, change their algorithms to watch content as well. So, so it definitely goes both ways as well.
But there is a responsibility on the brands and the creators as well in some way that they should be creating things more mindfully and thinking about the end user and not just relying on the numbers and the eyeballs it can get.
Exactly. Yeah. So with brand creators and content creators, I often say that they say content is king.
Yeah.
But I think it's not just about the content that we see on the screen. It's also about how we engage with the content, what we do with it afterwards as well. We don't want to just watch content.
Sure.
And then that's it, right?
Yes.
So as a marketer, we need to, what action can they take afterwards that is beneficial for their health as well?
Yeah. That's another good point because again, even if you're consuming educational or inspiring content, you want to then reflect on it and probably implement it in your life in some ways. Otherwise, it's a waste. Whatever you've consumed, and if you don't learn from it and implement it, there's no point.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Perfect. Great. Thank you for that. And are there certain trends or tools in the social media world that excite you or concern you from a well-being perspective?
Social media tools that really excite me. would be, let's go back to creators. So I
Sure.
know they're not tools, but they're people, right? So I think creators are a huge one. And anyone can be a creator,
Yeah.
whether they're, the mother of a baby or the baby or the teenager.
Yeah.
Or the professional worker who comes home from work and they're tired and they can create content too. So I think creators are a really big one that we can all create better.
Sure.
So that's what I'm really excited about. And also helping the next generation to create content that is engaging and that is educational, and that's not only helping other people but helping themselves as well.
Yes.
So when they look back, they go, okay, I created that and I'm really proud of that. And mum and dad are really proud and I'm really proud of myself. And when they're older, they can look back and go, hey, back in, 50 years ago, I created this and now my grandchild is doing the same thing and learning from it. So I think content creation and creators, it's an intergenerational thing that can last for lifetimes. It's a legacy that you leave behind.
It's here to stay.
Yeah. So I think, I firmly believe that creators are the legacy that, we leave behind for the future generations.
Sure. And sure. Thank you so much for answering
okay.
that. Another interesting question is that you work at the intersection of marketing, digital well-being, and mental health as well. What advice would you give to someone who's building a personal brand, but making sure they don't burn out in the end? Because I'm sure it's a lot of work.
Yeah. Burnout is real. I've been there. But having said that, I think for me personally, it's about setting boundaries, but then also seeing what lights you up and what you're aligned to. Right. So one thing might be suitable for some people, but not for other people. So you really have to reflect. We talked about reflection just before, and you really have to sort of understand not just who you are, but how you tick as well. And then based on that, you can go, okay, I know that I need to do this because it makes me feel good. It makes me happy. Right. And I don't want to do that, or I can't really see myself doing that yet.
Sure.
Because for some reason it makes me feel, I don't know, a certain way.
Sure.
All right. It doesn't light me up as much. And if it doesn't light you up, what's the point of living? Right.
Yes.
And so I believe that, we really need to create something that is meaningful for us. But at the same time, we need to do it in a meaningful way. And if it stays meaningful and if it keeps fueling us, then we're not going to burn out.
Right. Okay.
And so some strategies to not burn out when you're in the intersection of all these things. For me, it's just about balance.
Yep.
Not doom scrolling. Not finding reasons to doom scroll, for example, but doing other things such as I mentioned before, like meditation.
Sure.
Or journaling. I journal a lot. I have one thing that I love to do is journal through manifestation.
Right.
And so, I know that sounds very woo-woo for some people, but for me, it really works. And it's about setting yourself up so you can see and you can visualize, I guess, the future, even if it's just tomorrow.
Sure.
Right. So creating things like that where you can go, okay, this is how I'm feeling now. This is how I want to feel tomorrow. And this is some of the things I'm going to do tomorrow. So then when tomorrow comes, and if tomorrow comes, touch wood, then you'll take that into action.
Sure.
And so that's like one thing that I do. But there are so many other things that you can do to not burn out. But I definitely feel like balance, boundaries, and finding what really lights you up.
Sure. So it's also eventually being true to yourself, because you're not creating content from a space to just imitate what everyone's doing or just blindly following trends, but
exactly.
really creating from a space where it feels true, it feels real, something that you do want to share out eventually.
Yeah, that's so true. Being true to yourself and not trying to follow trends, not trying to compare yourself to other people. I think one really important thing is that we should be creating from a form of self-expression. And if we want to post it, as Mel Robbins says as well, just post it and not try and think, okay, that person's going to say something or that brand is going to think this, so I think at the end of the day, we really need to just use our creativity because unused creativity is doing us a disservice. And what I mean by that is if you have a brilliant idea but then you don't execute it, in the back of your mind, you're probably going to think, oh, I should have posted that, or why haven't I done that yet? And
I agree.
And it's like creativity, creating baking a cake, right? You want to bake a cake, but the cake is inside you and it wants to come out, but you haven't fed everyone yet. So at the end of the day, people are hungry and the cake's still inside you, and then it ends up rotting and, all these things. So I think, unused creativity turns into probably depression, turns into anxiety, turns into all these different things that if you don't use it, then then it ends up not being a good thing.
It'll find negative ways and negative outlets to come out there.
Yeah, exactly.
And probably because the reason for someone not doing it is overthinking about other people rather than themselves as to what the world would think if they did that.
Exactly. Because often, people think about what other people think too much.
Yes.
Especially when it's on social media, right? So people think, oh, I don't want to post that because that person might be watching, or, that person might say something or think something about me. Yeah. But like you said before, we just have to be true to ourselves. Yeah. And if you feel it, you just got to go for it and put it out there.
Exactly. And I think maybe it could be a little hard for someone. Like I probably could share that from my own experience. I've been having this maybe an inner calling to share about my work, about what I feel, about things that I like. So I talk about my work, which is in the space of life insurance. I talk about the things I like, which is spending time with family, spirituality, and everything. And I've been having that inner calling for over 2 years, but I wasn't acting on it. And I would even create content and never put anything out anywhere. Like just with the feeling that what if somebody doesn't like it? It's probably a bit cringe. It's not perfect. And I sat on it for 2 years. And then finally I was like, why am I doing this to myself? Like I'm still actively doing it and creating it just because I've got the thing inside me to do it. But if I don't put it out there, I'm doing a disservice to myself. So I've now started talking more actively about everything that I feel passionate about. It took me a while to get to the stage I am, but it's baby steps. I'm still not there where I should be. But again, you got to take that plunge.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. I think, sometimes we have these bouts of creativity and then we don't want to share it to the world just yet. We think about, okay, the perfect timing for it, but it's never the perfect time. So that's really great that you've shared that and you've begun to share that journey, which is amazing.
It was certainly something out of my own comfort zone. It was unsettling at start, but now you then kind of ease into it. That's fine. Like, and when you know that you're not doing it for the numbers, but you're doing it for your own good and for your own higher purpose that you want to achieve, it doesn't matter then. Like, you know that you're just serving yourself by doing that.
Yeah, exactly. I love that.
Thank you. I just wanted to also talk about, I think we've spoken before, but you were talking about the power of music and storytelling and how they play a role in the digital well-being and the mental health space. Can you maybe share a bit more about that?
Yeah, so we talked about creativity a lot today. And when I discovered that I could be creative with music, I decided to start sharing it on my content. And
How exciting is that?
Yeah, it was really, it was so exciting. And I just, I feel so blessed to have found, the passion that I've always dreamt of.
Yep.
And yeah, with the music side of things and the creativity and merging it all together, it makes me feel like there's more of a purpose as well.
Yes.
Because it's a passion project as well. But at the same time, it makes me feel like we talked about before, like it makes me feel like I've been lit up.
Yeah.
Right. And it's creative. It combines writing. So it's I've always loved writing as a child.
Right.
So, I never knew songwriting could be a thing. So I thought, okay, why not write a song? But then I discovered that through journaling.
Wow.
So I was journaling to a beat.
Right.
And then I realized, I'm writing a song. And I was like, this is really fun. And then I thought, okay, how do I keep going with this?
Right.
So that I can, just, create not a new life for myself, but create a new me.
Right.
And as soon as I did that, it felt right.
Wow.
Yeah, it felt really right. Like, this is what I love. And yeah, I love marketing, don't get me wrong.
Yes.
And I love many other things, but this is something that was untapped and untouched for so long.
Yeah.
But the clues are always there along the way. So
yeah, and I'm so glad you found that.
Yeah.
And you found something that makes you alive.
Yeah.
Right? So beautiful.
And it brings people together. I'm still learning, but it's something that, I'm learning about the process and I'm loving the process, and it makes me feel, I don't know, it just makes me feel amazing. So,
That's beautiful. So I think it's probably, again, tying back to your point that you find something that really lights you up, your inner purpose, your calling, and you act on it.
Yeah.
And that eventually improves your mental health.
Yeah.
And maybe then gets you onto better habits anyway, because you are serving yourself better.
Yeah. I mean, with music, it's all around frequency, right? And frequency taps into the mental aspects of your mind. Trying to create music that is good for not only my mental health, but hopefully can help someone else on the other side as well. So, yeah.
That's nice. Music reminds me, I've been addicted to handpan music.
Oh, I
love it. And I got my kids to hear it and they loved it, and they're so excited. They're like, we want to learn how to play a handpan. So I found a few places around. So hopefully in the next few months I may get them onto it. But it's so soothing and beautiful.
So
I might learn it with them as well, but it's beautiful.
Oh my gosh. Well, if you ever have like any lessons or anything, let me know, because I'll love to learn as well.
No, I will. I'll certainly share with you. But I think, and it's the same music. Like, it's so frequency based, and oh my God, like it changes my mood instantly.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the beauty of music, right? And it changes your mood, it changes your mind, it changes everything. It opens new, avenues in your mind. It brings back memories. It creates new memories.
100%.
So,
yes. No, that's beautiful. Thank you for that.
That's okay.
And I think I'll just jump on to maybe the last couple of questions.
Yeah.
What kind of digital world do you hope we create for the next generation? It's an important one for me, again, because I've got young children. I'd love to know and work on that with you.
Yes. So I think a digital world where it's not just numbers driven in terms of follower count. I definitely feel that the creativity sides needs to come out more.
Right.
And if we have a world where younger children, as you mentioned just before, live in a world where they're actually not judged on how many followers they have, but judged on the type of person they are based on their social media or based on their content they create. If they're able to create a positive digital footprint,
Yep.
then I think that's, they're creating the best resumes of their life. They're creating the most, amazing diary entries of their life, so when they look back
Yeah.
for their grandchildren and their grandchildren's grandchildren, then it's just amazing to see.
Yes.
And not only that, but if we actually create a life where we combine both health and wellness
Yep.
in the outdoor setting
Sure.
with tech on the screen,
Yep.
whether it's VR in an outdoor setting, so virtual reality, or whether it's, AI,
Yep.
but in an ethical way,
Yes.
or whether it's, creating content outdoors, so simple things like that, but actually getting them to, do hand pan music and then creating content on that.
On that, yeah.
So things like that where we're merging the two together. But I definitely feel that if we're able to be the role models for our
Sure.
children
Sure.
and to create content that is enlightening, that is inspiring, that is educational, and we're not scared of giving them the power to do that too,
Sure.
then I think that is the key to, a legacy where, they can create content that is inspiring for
That's beautiful.
generations.
Thank you for sharing
That's
that. I
okay.
think certainly something that I'm going to learn and work on for myself and for my children and my family. So thank you so much
You're
for sharing
welcome.
that.
Thank you so much.
I'm excited to see what world we create together with
Yes.
using these tips that
Thank
you
you so
shared.
much.
And last one, if you could leave our listeners with one powerful question or a phrase they could reflect on their digital lives, what would that be?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think the phrase would be, you put me on the spot. I think the phrase could be done, not perfect,
Okay.
right? So
I'm living that right now.
Yeah. So we get it done, but it doesn't have to be perfect.
Sure. Awesome. That's perfect. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing
Thank
that.
you so much, Priyanka.
But thank you so much for being with us today,
Yes,
Thao.
thank you so much for
Such a
having
great
me.
conversation. Thank you so much.